In this video, I'm going to show you how to switch on and focus on your sample on the 3-camera microscope. I will highlight some key rules you have to follow in order to use the microscope safely as well. So first, you come into the room and you want to check these 2 buttons are all pointing upwards. And then you want to check the microscope is actually off. You've numbered all the buttons. You switch on from number 1. Wait a few seconds, switch on 2. A few more seconds. And switch on the microscope body, which is the 3rd one. You want to double check no sample have been left by the previous user. Before switching this on. The front of the microscope should light up. You wait for it to fully boost up. Once the light stops flashing, you can move on to number 4, which is the camera. If you are using DAPI, green, red and far red channels, then you want to switch on this camera over here. If you are using colored camera, then you skip number 4 over there and you switch on the colored camera, which is this one over here, and the arm underneath the camera. Okay, so once you've switched on number 4, you want to check the computer is not just asleep. So wiggle the mouse, and if the computer is off, you want to switch the computer on, which is this button down here. And we wait for the computer to boot up. This video is in real time, but if you need to just follow a particular instruction, then you can skip ahead in this YouTube video. So this is the PPMS booking system screen. Once you've been trained, you should have access to log into this. Your username is usually the first part of your email. And if you have a dot or a number in the middle before the @ it should be that. So once you've logged in, you want to switch on the NIS Elements software. Again, after your training, we should have set up your own user account for you, so please log into that one. and wait for the software to load up. Once the software is loaded up, you should see this screen, and the first thing you want to do is click on eyepiece and bright field. Next, you want to check which lens you are currently on, and you can see here we are on the 10x lens. Before you start to load your sample, you always check the lens for any damage. You must report any damage to us at the beginning of your session. So to check lens, we go to the microscope body. There is a foot paddle on the floor. If you step on this foot paddle, the box light will come on. If the box light doesn't come on, it means someone has messed around with the dimmer switch. We always leave it on the brightest. And you can check the lens by looking directly at it inside the microscope. If you need a bit more space, you can open up the top by sliding these two open and gently push this back. Always have a hold of it. It will naturally stop. And then you have a clearer view of the lens. Check that it's not damaged, not cracked, not dented. If you think something is wrong, please call one of the technicians and we will double check the lens for you. So this is the 10x. When you load your sample, you always start with a low magnification lens. So either the 10x lens or the 20x lens. And then if you need higher resolution images, you then move on to 60 or 40 after you've focused on the 10 and 20. So I'm going to show you how to do that. But first you need to check all the lenses you'll be using. So today I will be using the 20x dry lens to focus on my sample first, and then I'll move on to the 60x oil lens. If you want to know more information about the lenses, you want to hover your mouse over a lens. Please do not click on the lens, and it will give you the description about the lens. So this is a 20x dry lens. Please do not put oil on this lens, or the 10x dry lens. And then you can see this is a 60x oil lens, which means you need to put oil in between your sample and the lens. So now we come to the most important rule you must remember in order to use our facility, which is before we switch to a different lens. So before we switch between 10 and 20, for example, you must lower all the lenses all the way down to the bottom. So the lenses are on a little plate, you can see here, on a little metal plate. And when you click on a lens in the software, this plate will rotate. We lower the lenses all the way down so that it will not bash into the side of the metal. If you don't do this, you can damage a lens or several lenses. So, to lower the lens, everything is controlled with this controller. Please do not use any buttons on the machine body. When you first switch the microscope on, the display will look like this. You need to press this little arrow. There's 4 arrows on this button, so this little arrow to bring up your Z number. Now Z shows you if you're going upwards or downwards with your lens. The number itself doesn't matter too much because you can go very high up and you can zero the number, or the previous user could have zeroed the number. So 0 does not mean you're at the bottom. You move this wheel, so hands on the side like this, and then just in big smooth circles. You move this wheel and you can see the Z number going downwards. You keep going. Until you see this symbol. You will hear 3 beeps, so beep, beep, beep. And most importantly, you can see the big number stops changing. This is how you know your lenses are all the way at the bottom. Once you've done that, you can come back to the software and click on the next lens. Once you've clicked the lens, please move your mouse away from the lens area so you don't accidentally click anything. And back at the machine, it should have automatically changed to the 20x. Again, check the lens for any damage. And since we're going to be using the 20 and the 60 for today, I'm now going to change the lens to the 60x and check as well. Always make sure the lens is at the bottom, which I know it is, but double check if you're ever in doubt. Click on the 60. And again, no dents, no cracks. And if you'd like to, please give the 60x a quick clean. We ask every user to leave the lenses clean for the next person, but you can give it a clean yourself as well. So this is the lens tissue. There's a smooth side and a rough side, so please use the smooth side. This is isopropanol, so you open the little bottle lid like so. You press down to release some isopropanol, and then you might need more than one tissue. After you clean it, always dry the lens off. So get lens tissue, and just gently dry the surface of the lens. Please place all tissues in the bin provided. This bin is for paper waste only. Please do not put gloves or any contaminants or any biological hazards into the bin. It's for paper only. Okay, so now we've checked all our lenses, I'm going to go back to the 20x. So you also want the lenses to be all the way at the bottom before you put in any slide holders, sample holders. We have several, and we should have told you which one to use, which one is the most suitable for your sample. So today I'll be using this sample holder, and you just want to place it flat inside the stage. Make sure it's flat. And then, as you can see, your lens is not in the slide holder position. So while your lens is all the way at the bottom, you are very welcome to use the joystick to move around. To place your lens somewhere near where your sample would be. And then you want to go and take your sample. Make sure your sample is clean before coming to the WCIC. But if you need to clean it here, we have some normal tissue paper, and you can use some isopropanol. Once your cover slip is clean, you want to dry it off before putting your sample on the stage. This is an inverted microscope, which means the cover slip will always face downwards. So on any microscope, the cover slip will always need to face the lens. So you just pop your sample on like so. And if this is the particular sample holder you're using, you can use magnets to clip the sample down into position. So these magnets. And you want to push down so it clicks and hold your sample in position. So now you can see the lens is not right underneath the cover slip. So you want to again move the joystick until it is. If you can't quite tell where the lens is underneath your sample, or if you need a particular region on your tissue section, it might be better if you clicked on a fluorescent channel, so DAPI or green. You always want to make sure some green light is coming through, so 20%. You can see this is the green channel. It's automatic. When you click on green, it will select this automatically, and you should see some light in this bar here. And you can see very clearly that it's right in the middle of the cover slip. So you want to be on a fluorescent channel currently anyway, because we are now ready to focus on your sample. So again, always double check you have fluorescent light coming through before you close the incubation box, so you're in a dark environment. You want to close the top as well. So now you're in a dark box, and you want to look down here, down the eyepiece, and you want to bring your wheel up towards you. Okay, so this means you're bringing your wheel upwards. While looking down the eyepiece, you continue to bring the wheel up at a steady speed until you can see your sample down the eyepiece. You will hear 2 beeps from the microscope, so beep beep. The microscope is telling you you are somewhere close to your sample. You should never ignore this beep, because most of the time it's very accurate, but it doesn't mean you're perfectly in focus. So now I can see down the eyepiece some blurry cells. So you just want to continue to focus on your cells. If you hear the beep and you see nothing at all down the eyepiece, please don't continue to bring your lens upwards. Usually that means something is wrong, so come and get one of the technical team and we will help you to focus. So now it's perfectly in focus down the eyepiece, and you can see, there you go. And you are ready to move on to the camera settings and take some pictures on the 20x if that's what you need. But today, for training purposes, I am going to pretend like we don't need any images on the 20 and we just want to move on to focus on the 60. So once you are in focus on the 20x, you can Z reset this position. So press Z reset and that number becomes 0. This doesn't change the physical height of your lens at all. It's just an arbitrary number. But now your Z is 0. 0 means this is your focus level. And on any lens that we go to next, your focus should be around 0. Usually is no more than 20 or 30 microns either side of 0. So this is kind of a safety net for you to use. One key rule to remember is on the 60x, you never want to go 100 microns above this 0 number. Because if you do, there's a likely chance you are going to crash the lens into the cover slip. So I'm going to show you now how to switch from a 20x to a 60. So first thing, you want to drop your lens all the way down to the bottom. We always do that before switching lens. So push the wheel away from you, so going downwards, and you want to do this until it's all the way down. So you see this sign, you hear the 3 beeps, and the number stops moving. And then you want to open this up. You can put it back onto Widefield. And give yourself a bit more room to work. And you want to remove your sample. You can leave the sample holder on there, and you want to change the lens to 60. Again, just move your mouse away. Once 60x is on there, you now can put half a drop of oil onto the 60x. Please don't leave the lid just anywhere. You'll make oil rings. So just place it back in there, and you have the oil bottle. Only use the one with the red lid. This is especially for the 3 camera. And you want to invert the bottle. The oil won't drip out, don't worry. You need to start squeezing the bottle a little. And then you just watch for the oil droplet to come out. You need to watch out for any air bubbles. If there are no air bubbles, half a drop like this is enough. It's not quite in focus, but half a drop like this is enough. And you want to place it directly onto the lens, like so. And please leave the bottle in here and recap the bottle. So now you have a drop of oil on there, and you want to place your sample back in. Clip it back down. You shouldn't have to change location because you found what you're looking for on the 20x, so you want to maintain the location. So what you do now is you want to bring this wheel upwards until you see the oil touching the cover slip. So hand on the side like so, and you want to be on fast mode while you do this because we are still quite far away from the cover slip. When I say fast mode, I mean the speed of the wheel and the speed of the joystick as well. So if we're not changing location, that means you can change the XY position, so the joystick movement, to slow mode already. And to change the speed is the white buttons here. So 3 arrows, you can see 3 arrows here, means fast. If I press this, 2 arrows is slow, 1 arrow is extra slow. We don't really use 1 arrow, so 2 is enough to slow it down. You can also use the button in the center of the joystick to change speed. And with this one, again, with how fast your lens moves up and down, 3 is fast, 2 is slow, 1 is extra slow. We usually just use 3 or 2. So currently just stay on fast mode while you bring this up, so turn this towards you, and you want to look very carefully at the lens. Okay, so I'm bringing this up until I see the oil touching. If you're ever in doubt, have I gone too far, then just stop moving the wheel, take a step back, and read the number on the display. So it says -1000, so you're 1000 microns away from that 0 focus position you set. So that's what I mean by it's a little safety net, the 0 number for you to use. So you know you're 1000 away, and that's still quite far away. If you put a decent amount of oil onto the lens, you should come into contact with the cover slip somewhere around -500, but that's only an estimate. But this way, you know you can still go up. So just keep looking and keep bringing the lens up. Until it touches and forms a membrane. Please stop moving the wheel as soon as the oil touches. So it's quite obvious if you just keep a watch on the lens, but it's very easy to miss as well if you look away just for a moment. So now if we look at the number, it's -600. Okay, so it means I have a decent amount of oil on there. If this number ever says -300 and you still haven't seen the oil touch, then please just assume it has. You might have just missed the slight touch, okay? Once the oil has touched, or you assume it has touched, please change the speed to slow. This is a very important rule as well. Okay, so from here, you then want to go back to the software. You want to click on a fluorescent channel again. And again, make sure there's some fluorescent light coming through. And of course, you can see it right away here. And again, turn the lights off, close everything. And once again, look down the eyepiece and focus on your sample. So you shouldn't see anything at the moment down the eyepiece because we're still far away from our focus. But you want to keep going, so bring your lens upwards. If you're ever doubting yourself whether you've gone too close, just take a step back, stop moving the wheel, and read the number. So look back and continue to bring the lens up. So when you were on the 20x lens, you heard a beep beep sound when your lens was getting close to your cover slip. You should not expect to hear the same beep beep sound on the oil or water lenses, because with oil and water in the way, the machine cannot accurately judge the distance between the lens and your cover slip. So please don't use that on the higher magnification lenses. When you're getting close, you should start to see your background getting brighter and brighter. And then slowly you will come into focus. Okay. And you can have a look at the number. So like I said, usually is very close to 0. If you do find yourself ever in doubt, please call one of the technical team in and we will help you with focusing. Okay, so now that you have your sample down the eyepiece and you're in focus, this again, the next bit is a very important rule. You can use the joystick to move to different locations on your cover slip. The rule regarding the joystick is if your lens is all the way down at the bottom, you can be on fast mode and you can move the joystick as much as you like to find your cover slip. The only other time you want to move the joystick is when you are perfectly in focus down the eyepiece and you can see your sample very clearly, like so, and you can move the joystick on slow mode just to find a particular cell or a particular tissue region that you want to image. What I do not want to see you do is you've gone up with your lens and you have no idea where your focus is. You keep going up and up and you can't see your sample down the eyepiece. I don't want you to move the joystick in that circumstance, because what could have happened is you've gone too high with your lens, you've now crashed into your cover slip, and when you move your joystick, then that's how we scratch the lens. So please don't do that. Okay, so we're in focus on the 60. So the next thing is coming to the software, and we can start to try and put something on screen. So once you've done that, you come to the single camera mode. So this is the camera settings, and you do want to put the camera settings into initial settings, especially if you don't know how bright your sample is. So that would be 100 milliseconds, gain 1, and if I go with my green, so the green channel, because that's what we used to focus our sample with, so we definitely know some green signal is down the eyepiece. So here you can see the percentage of light that you're using. Okay, so 20% is a good starting point. And again, this is automatically selected, so please don't try and change this. sorry, I should have said click on this button first before changing the exposure. So 100 milliseconds. And gain 1 and 20% power. And then you can go to live. This is your live screen, and you can click on this to zoom out to your whole field of view. You can use this to move your cell of interest to the middle, and you can use your mouse wheel to focus on your sample a little more. If you can't see much on screen, it might be because your contrast is not adjusted. So this is your contrast, and if you bring this down, you can see a brighter image on screen. But please be aware, this does not change your raw data at all. This is just for visualization. Okay, so we've covered how to switch on the microscope and how to safely focus on your sample and how to quickly bring something on screen. The rest of the help guide is also online, so if you need help setting up your camera settings, how to optimize your settings, you can find all of that in the PDF provided. Okay, thank you for watching. So after you've used the microscope to image, now we've come to the end of your session. I'm going to show you how to switch off the system. So first of all, you want to go back to eyepiece. So freeze your image, so you're no longer using light to excite your sample. And then you want to go back to eyepiece. You can switch the box light on, and again just give yourself a bit more room to unload your sample. You want to be on bright field, and the very first thing you do is to lower the lens. So anytime you're working near the lens or your hand is anywhere near the lens, just please think, have you lowered the lens? So hand on the side, move carefully. Once you know you are going in the downwards direction, so away from you, you can put the speed back to 3 arrows. So now back on fast speed, and you can quickly move that to the very bottom. So 3 beeps, this sign, and the number doesn't change anymore. So now we can remove our sample. Please clean your sample. And try not to put your sample down and forget, because then we will have oil everywhere. So use normal tissue. So you want to wipe the oil away with a dry tissue, and use another tissue to wipe any excess oil off again if you need to. So once the excess oil has been wiped off, please don't leave the tissue anywhere, just throw it in the bin straight away. And then you want to use another tissue with some ethanol to clean any residual oil off there. You might have to do this a few times, but in the end, don't forget to dry your sample off. So that's how you clean the sample. Now, cleaning the lens is very similar. So you want to use a dry lens tissue to remove the excess oil first. So dry lens tissue, use the smooth side. And back on here, with the sample holder in the way, sometimes it's very hard to clean the lens. So I would highly recommend removing the holder. And then using a lens tissue, just wipe away the excess oil. So you can see the oil. If you didn't get it all, just please throw this tissue in the bin. Grab another tissue and do that again. Okay, so if you fold your tissue over, you can use different part of the tissue. What we don't want to see is users using the same tissue, oily tissue, and smudging oil back on. So please be careful and just use new lens tissue if you need to. Once most of the excess oil has been wiped off, you can then use more lens tissue, and now you can use some isopropanol. And you want to clean from the middle outwards, so circular motion from the middle, once, twice, outwards. And of course, if you have a bit of oil down the side of the slope, you also want to wipe that away. Okay. And you want to use new tissue and ethanol, isopropanol I mean, and you want to do this 3 to 5 times. It's easier with both hands. So after 3 to 5 times, you want to grab another lens tissue, dry lens tissue, and just dry the lens off at the end. One, to dry the lens off. And that's how you clean the lens. Once the lens is clean, you want to change the lens back to 20x. So please make sure it's right at the bottom. Always double check. And you can click on the 20x lens. And we leave the machine on 20x at the very bottom for the next user. So once you've done that, please make sure you put the clips and any sample holders back into this box so the next person can find it. And you want to shut the incubation box and make sure you switch off the box light. And now you can come back to the software and switch off the software. Okay. So once the software is switched off, you then transfer your data. Again, the how to do that is in the PDF guide. Once your data has been transferred, you want to check if anybody is using the machine after you. So go on the website, PPMS. You don't need to log in, you just go on schedule, and you can see, please make sure you're looking at the correct microscope. So 3 camera, and you trace along here, and you can see that no one is here after today's session. So the rule is 2 hours. If someone is here within 2 hours, you leave everything on. You close your personal NIS Elements software, of course. You close any websites open, and all you need to do is log out from your PPMS booking system here. So you just log out, and that's how you leave it for the next user. But if nobody is on here after you within 2 hours, then you want to switch off the system completely. So you want to go to Start, you want to go to the power button and shut down. And then you shut down the microscope in reverse order. So you start with number 4. So press and release. The camera doesn't make a noise when you switch it on or shut it off, so just be fun. And then switch off number 3. Number 2. And 1. Please make sure to clean up after yourself. If you left any oil residues, please just clean it up for us. Anything, any consumables you might have bought to use during your session, please bring them back with you and dispose of them in the wet lab. And once again, our bins in the WCIC is for paper waste only. Okay, thank you for watching, and have a good imaging session.